call the Flint Board of Education Board Committee to a whole meeting to order at 6:32. Board members, as I call your name, please present for the record. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Darren Roney. Present. Secretary Booth. Present. Treasurer McIntyre. Present. Vice President Daniel McIntyre. Present. Trustee Gibbard. Present. Trustee Green is absent. And myself, President-elect Gibbard. Board member, this evening we have Mr. Sam Jolly from Vortex here to give us a technology optimization plan update. Please come forward, Mr. Jolly.
Absolutely. I have a copy of the presentation in front of each of you, as well as on the smartboard and the projector behind me. So today I'm going to review many of the updates that we've done over the past year. And first I wanted to thank you. Vartech and Flint Community Schools have been partners since 2017. And we're grateful and have learned so much from this partnership, and just like to thank you for that. Also, wanted to show some of the faces behind the support that you've been receiving. Myself, Sam John, the EdTech leader. We also have our associate EdTech leader, network administrator, and systems administrator in the audience behind me, along with a couple of members from our engineering resource center. They provide extra necessary support for us. Our IT support specialists couldn't make it since they provided all of their support hours during the day. That most prudent. So here we have Vartech's mission, vision, and values. This is how Vartech operates. We like to lead, guide, and strategize with the district that we partner with. And we make sure that the technology is optimized and functioning as well as possible so that teachers can focus on innovating in the classroom. And the ultimate goal, of course, is to help our scholars learn as efficiently and effectively as possible. That is always the end game. Here's just an overview of what we've been able to accomplish since our meeting last summer. We have aligned the skill sets and roles on the Vartech support team and improved the support to the schools. So this is our help desk quick fix support and our systems and network administration. A large big improvement as well is the multi-factor authentication and cybersecurity phishing awareness training. Another large project was the 2022 E-Rate Network Infrastructure Project. This is where the federal government pays for 85% of infrastructure upgrades for the network. In addition, we have closed nearly 2,500 tickets since our last update this summer. So what is the technology optimization plan? I know it's been a while since I've presented to you and we have a couple of new workforce. So our technology optimization plan is to advance the technology infrastructure, to mitigate risk, and to ensure proper policies and procedures are in place. So ensure everybody's on the same page. We provide mitigation strategies to reduce potential risks and break these down into milestones. So 1 year ago, this is kind of a state, kind of a look back from last year. There was quite a bit of internet network issues. People are unable to stream videos. It was difficult to teach in many circumstances. Some buildings were affected more so than others. There were separate wireless systems in place with lab service agreements and aging network infrastructure. There were some miscommunications in building staff and the central administration, which created a inconsistency in the use and adoption of education platforms. The network that we've mentioned quite a bit needed an update and optimization. We also had a lapsed service agreement with AT&T, which caused the district to pay the SEC tariff rates, which are more costly than the in-contract rates. And we also had failing network battery backups. This would cause downtime that would otherwise have been avoided. Since that time, we have been able to improve the internet access across all the buildings. One of the primary ways we did that was replacing the main internet uplink hardware, which was failing and causing errors. And we've already seen a dramatic increase in stability and speed of the network district-wide. We've also overseen the installation of over 200 new wireless access points that support the latest Wi-Fi 6 standard and 22 new network switches. We also worked very closely with the district to move the 2022 E-rate project forward. This is going to replace the remainder of the aging network infrastructure, many network switches, including the various connectors, and will add battery backups to increase network uptime. Battery backup units are also essential to making sure that the network switches perform well and that they receive clean electricity to make them last longer. A separate project is the Homes and Brownell wireless project. They currently have a separate wireless system. And we're just waiting for the hardware to arrive, and they'll have all new wireless and network switches there. We also work closely with the curriculum department. We work with them to streamline the educational platforms and to ensure that all the data was syncing properly with Synergy, our student information system. And we've also updated the enterprise management systems for all the many devices that we have in the district. Okay, so we just have here a quick overview of some of the projects that we were able to complete. Stuff I mentioned. We completed the 2019 E-rate project. The hardware was delayed due to COVID shortages, so those were not. They didn't arrive in the district until 2021, but we did get them properly installed. We've optimized the Jamf platform, which is the Apple product management system, along with the Google Admin Console, which manages all the student and staff Google accounts and all the Chromebooks in the district. Got over 200 new wireless access points installed, and we performed a complete network audit to understand exactly where the network stands. Under cybersecurity, we have implemented the end user awareness training. We worked with the curriculum department to make sure all users were included in that. This is essential to educate all staff about how to identify suspicious emails, what links to not click, what to do if they open a suspicious email. That's all very important. We also implemented multi-factor or two-factor authentication. So each user gets a code texted or called before they're able to sign into the email. We've also optimized various other systems, which are very important. We've upgraded various servers which support testing, all user accounts, etc. We have also implemented what's called a radius server. It's kind of like two-factor authentication for network infrastructure, and that will help secure the network. Some additional priorities. We will continue with our focus on cybersecurity. As you all are aware, wars and cyber attacks on public schools and infrastructure happen. They can affect data, sensitive information, and systems. We also have some federal recommendations that advise everybody to have phishing education and to have enabled for all users, for example. We also have a plan to improve the student password policy. At the moment, the current policy leaves accounts vulnerable to phishing, spam, and unauthorized access. We have a plan underway. I'll speak to this a little bit later. We have a plan underway to remedy that. your systems. We are working with the district to improve the inventory process. At the moment, we have kind of a group effort between the title office, the Bartech on-site team, and building staff to maintain inventory. And we're working with the district to centralize and streamline that process. That's going to help us understand exactly which devices are where, how old they are, how many need to be replaced, that sort of thing. Okay, we have many priorities. So we're continuing with the network. This is a big deal nowadays. In the classroom, we have meetings that are being streamed. We have videos that are being streamed. We have large, high-quality images in the classes. And all of this needs a strong, resilient network to back it up. We're going to continue focusing on that. We, at the moment, do not have a backup wireless controller. It's kind of the brains of all the wireless access points. We have a primary, and it's in good condition. But we have plans to acquire a second backup wireless controller. We currently do not have a guest wireless network for visitors. Everybody just kind of shares the Wi-Fi passwords. We have a plan of progress to enable a guest network, and they'll have anybody that connects to the guest network will have limited access to network resources, and they will be filtered for inappropriate content and all of that. Okay, moving on to the future. So cybersecurity is not going to go away. We're continuing to focus on that. The platform that the district decided to move forward with is called TechGuard, and that is the phishing education platform. We'll continue. We have campaigns that serve randomized emails, so we send fake phishing emails to everybody, and if they click a bad link, then they get a short video saying why they should not have clicked on that, and they get a brief little mini lesson. We're going to continue two-factor authentication, of course, and strengthen our password policies before the beginning of the next school year. We have the back end in place, we just don't want to make a big change like that in the middle of the year. We're also going to improve the network infrastructure security by further configuring the radius server, and also again with authentication for network infrastructure devices. For systems, we're going to continue working with the district to get a solid inventory management process in place. So having a standard operating procedure where everybody's on the same page, this is what needs to be done. This is going to be amazing. We also have a inventory management system that we're going to pilot over the next 3 months. We'll see if we like it, if the district likes it, and if so, we'll move forward with that. We're also working with the GISD to reconfigure and update the server environment. There are some upstream internet provider changes that are happening. We have to change some of the IP structures for that. Nobody is going to notice the differences, but we have to do some things on the back end. We're also working with AT&T and other providers to upgrade the current phone and fax system. It is aging, and there are definitely faxing issues as well. So we're in talks with the district and AT&T and potentially other vendors to remedy that. So in progress, we're just waiting on the hardware for the E-rate project, which is over 60 switches and many different connectors, along with the access points for homes in Brownell, which is over 100 access points. And moving on to the 2022-2023, we're going to continue to replace outdated network equipment. So this was, for various reasons, neglected for a while, and we have been making great strides to improve the network infrastructure. We're going to continue doing that, along with adding battery backup units to all of this to increase uptime. This is especially important because the phones are powered by the network switches. So if the switches go down, the phones go down. So we need to make sure those are up as much as possible. We're also going to implement an upgraded phone and fax system, add a desk wireless network, and continue upgrading our servers to the latest version. This is important for stability and for cybersecurity, of course. So latest software patches and security safeguards. Well, so I mentioned this a few times, the device inventory system is going to make our lives much easier. And I know I just threw a lot of information at you. Again, I just want to reiterate that the goal of all of this is to improve the scholars' learning experience, make sure they have everything that they need to perform well, to have the different creative experiences that they need. And that is the focus of everything that we're doing. I imagine you all might have some questions.
I don't know how to speak to the piece of us possibly having to go to a virtual classroom in the future. I was told that we may have to offer that option on a regular basis. And with some students having the virtual option to be homeschooled and other students being there on site, how will that play out with our technologies assistance?
So at the moment, every household, every scholar has a hotspot, a mobile hotspot at their disposal, as well as a Chromebook or iPad. So they'll be able to work with their teachers and their local staff to make sure that their education continues.
And there should be no slowdown in our technology piece, like, we had a lot of issues with.
We did have many issues, yes. So far, the new hotspots seem to be performing much better. I cannot guarantee that all households will be in a strong coverage, strong service area. That's up to the mobile data provider. But we do assist with making sure that all the hotspots are functioning, all the devices are to connect to them, and we have a good working relationship with the provider to, if parents or guardians have any questions, they have a hotline that they can call, or they can work with us through the building staff.
So my question is about the cybersecurity, but mainly about some of the changes we just made. And our union was asking me about the authentication that goes to the cell phones currently. What can you tell us about the use of their cell phone? Is it information being pulled? What the purpose of this authentication with their cell phone? Some teachers and staff is having a little trouble that they're being asked to use their cell phone to authenticate.
Absolutely. So with two-factor authentication, you just need some kind of way to verify that you are you. So having a text message sent to your cell phone or a code generated through an app on your phone or getting a code through a phone call. Those are all important it's the second step to get into your account. So if somebody were to acquire your password or to do a brute force attack by just guessing your password, they still would not be able to get into your account because of that extra two-factor code that's required. So no personal information is pulled from users' personal devices. It's just a text message that's being sent to them or a phone call that's being made, and Microsoft is saying, hey, here's your 2FA code, or hey, I'm actually trying to sign in. It's just to verify that they are the other. If users do not have a personal device, then accommodations can be made using a security key file. We can get quotes for those. They do cost a little bit of money. They're inexpensive, less than $20 each. But that is an alternative.
So, okay. So they can't use an email address to authenticate?
Not for two-factor authentication.
Okay, just need to know. All right, thank you, sir. And I appreciate all the work you do. You do great since you've been on board, so I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. For our teachers and administrators, when they have to work from home, can they do all that work without using any of their personal devices, equipment, technology? Is it all provided by the district?
Yes. So we do have teacher devices that are available for teachers, parapros. We've been pretty liberal with who has access to the teacher devices. So if anybody in the district does not have a working device, we certainly can remedy that. There are,
Are they aware of that?
yes, so Sherry Marcos has been heading up the teacher device program, and she is very in tune with the needs of the teachers. I think she's been doing a great job, and we've been assisting with preparing those devices. We can certainly work with the district to make sure everybody is aware that those are available. But to our knowledge, everybody has access to them that wants to use one.
Would you say about $200?
So
Would you just say $200?
no. Everybody that needs or wants one has access to one.
Okay, so the reason I ask, one of the reasons I ask is twofold. If the teachers or administrators have to use their own personal devices, and something goes amiss, where, say for a court, and they subpoena the phone records, well, that's gonna have to come off of their personal device. And they should not have to be concerned about turning their personal device in to a court or to the district or wherever. They can turn in their school device. Secondly, for the parents, if they're conveying personal information, maybe about the child, they should feel secure in the device that is receiving the information. So I believe that a device from the school district can be more secure than one's own personal device. So are those situations being addressed on your part?
So all of our teachers have a device from the district and administrators. If they're doing work for our district, they have a device, those that are doing work for the district. If someone chooses to use their own device, it's not because we have not given them one. So they understand that we want them to use the device that they've been given. So everyone has that opportunity when they join the district. Those teachers and administrators, they do have devices.
Do we have a policy that requires them to use the issued device as opposed to the personal device? And I'm talking for the parents who might have a concern of where this personal information is going and how it may be retrieved in the future.
I would address that by saying that if there's families that decided I don't need a device because I'm using my own, that is a choice that they made. We offered it, but if they decided not to use the school device, are you saying that we should have a policy that makes them use the school device?
Well, I'm thinking for the security for the district and for the security of the information that the parent might be sending to the administrator, to the teacher. Again, I believe that a device issued by the school district will have a higher sense of security on it than my own personal device.
Noted.
Wrong, I mean,
Noted.
Are there any more questions?
Question, on the performance snapshot, you indicated that there were 2,438 tickets closed? Well, it's, okay.
As of this afternoon, yes.
So, okay, so that's what the discrepancy was, you put 2,745 and on our packet, we had a different number?
Is this in the technology optimization plan?
When you gave us the performance snapshot.
Oh, yes, so yes, I provided I printed out copies earlier, and
And it was updated?
correct, our team is very active, at completing requests, so the numbers can change, yes.
All right, And when you talked about challenges and risks 1 year ago, you talked about a lapsed phone service agreement with AT&T. Why on earth would we have a lapsed phone service? How did it lapse?
Right, so the district administration director of operations position has had some vacancy and turnover, and that department typically handles the phone contract.
So that's something that we figured out why it happened and we can alleviate that situation in the future. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And you said Homes Down Now had a separate system. Can you explain that a little bit more? I thought we didn't have, I'm confused about that.
That's correct. They did have a type of Apple grant back in 2016 or so, and they got new, at the time, very excellent wireless access points and switches to power those. There was a service agreement for a period of about, I think it expired in January of 2020, and that, 2020, I believe, and that was not renewed. So those wireless access points and switches have been having some issues since then. We are doing our best to keep them functioning as well as possible. We've added some additional Cisco wireless access points and switches to keep them running so that they can still reach and access their email and all of that. And a whole project is underway. We're just waiting for the new wireless access points to arrive. Yes.
And then, I think this is the last one. So there's no backup wireless controller?
Correct. So the one that we do have is robust and good. I worked hard to try to include it in the 2022 E-rate. However, they do not cover duplicate or backup devices, only primary devices. I know, I was disappointed as well. Right, I pushed really hard, but our E-rate consultant said no, because of the laws and rules for E-rate. So we'll have to acquire one through other means.
All right, and then the last thing really alarmed me, and hopefully you can relate my fears. Current inventory process is fractured and not centralized, multiple inputs or sources, title office, MarTech, and buildings.
Yes.
So it doesn't sound like we have a way of keeping track of devices coming in and out of the school system.
So each building does a good job of signing devices in and out. They have forms that they sign. That's all done at the building level. The district-wide inventory is not great. There are spreadsheets. We work with the building principals to get their building inventories. Sometimes that can lag, and it's not always up to date. So we're hoping to streamline that by having everybody use a single system to manage the inventory. And we're going to demo that over the next few months. This is going to improve the process by having, whenever a new device gets signed out to a student or to a staff member, it's going to automatically update the inventory system that anybody that has access can view. We can see that, oh, Sam Jolly has this Chromebook checked out for testing purposes. He has it at the administration building. It's this model. It's set to have a 5-year lifespan. It's worth this much money. Lots of information will be available. This is going to help the district with future device purchase needs. So with the numbers we have, wow, 20%.
Not to interrupt, but I understand the benefits of this, but I guess my question would be why we don't have anything like that in place already. I think when I first came on the board, there were questions about a $640,000 purchase for headsets, and we couldn't figure out where the headsets were. Have we ever found those headsets? And I mean, I'm worried that we have all this technology coming in and out, and there's no accountability for it. I mean, we had another question about our vehicles, about our vehicles that we have, like, it seems to me we need like an inventory system for a lot of things, not just the technology. But this really concerns me that, I mean, with every student, every teacher having a Chromebook or an iPad or some kind of device or hotspots that we wouldn't, why don't we have that in place already? Why is this something that's a future priority?
I want to offer a friendly amendment, if I may, to what Sam said. We do have a system, it's called the KN system. The KN system is an inventory management system, and every device or any electronic that's purchased with federal funds over $100 is entered into our inventory system and tagged. So that is correct, Sam?
That is correct.
Okay, so that is, it's not, when we had that system, we were not distributing devices. The pandemic forced us to distribute devices to students to take home, because all of our technology was only used in classrooms, in the libraries, inside the school building. Now that we were pushed into distributing devices and wanted to go 2-to-1 with our scholars, and is not as nimble. Laura, check out this book. So we wanted to make a system that was more robust, so that the allowability for us to put devices into circulation became more manageable. So right now, we did have to create Google Sheets and put worksheets in Google Drive so that we could all share and see where the devices are. But everything has serial numbers on them, along with an asset tag before they're ever distributed. However, it is a cumbersome process, so we need a more efficient system, so that now, because circulation is important for us, that we need to do a systems conversion. So that is what he said, it's fragmented. That's true, but everything we purchase with federal funds over $100 has an asset tag and it's in our inventory system.
See, I think you give me a great answer, and because my heart just stopped when I heard that, so thank you.
Yes.
And you said we don't have a backup system in case something goes wrong, because I thought we spoke, when we were reviewing you guys, we spoke of a backup.
So for the wireless controller?
Yeah.
Right, so there's a little history. There's the aging wireless controller for the older Cisco wireless access points, and that was failing. We have a new wireless controller for the new Wi-Fi 6 access points that is in place and running. That is good to go. So currently we have 2 wireless controllers. There are a handful of old wireless access points still, like at homes in Brno, for example, in hallways, that are only compatible on the old wireless controller. So we can't disposition that until all the old access points are replaced, which we're just waiting for them to be delivered. We do have that new wireless access controller, the wireless controller, excuse me, and we are working on getting a quote for a backup. I was really hoping that you would cover it, but they would not.
Yeah, in regards to the inventory, we just heard that 80 federal funds in excess of $100 were inventory. What about expenditures of more than $100 that aren't funded by federal funds? I'm sorry?
Can you provide an example of what you would be referring to?
Well, I'm sure we make expenditures in the district not using federal funds.
When it comes to student technology, we just use federal funds.
Oh, is it?
We
Okay.
haven't used any general fund, which is a great thing for us, that we're able to utilize the grant dollars in that way. But we don't make general fund educational technology purchases.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a lot of questions about technology report day. We're requesting from the board, if you have a question to Monica, because we do have to go into a closed session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
At this time, I seek a motion and second to go into closed session to receive attorney-client privilege communication under section 818 of the Michigan Meeting Act. It has been properly moved and second that we meet in closed session. Board members, when I call upon your name, please say yea or nay to go into closed session. Chris Delorme.
Yay.
Linda Booth. Laura McIntyre. Carol McIntosh. Ellen Gibbard. Daniel Green, absent. Myself, Joyce McIntyre. Board member, we are now in closed session. We will meet in the room right behind. Public members, we will return here following our closed session. I would like to call the board committee of the whole meeting back to order at 7:39 p.m. New business and information report. I now turn the floor over to Mr. Dale Maroney for the Human Resource Committee of the whole meeting.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to call the Human Resources Committee of the whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Mr. Jones to present action item to the board.
Sure. Good evening. Ms. Elston has passed out an updated personnel recommendation resolution. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 1.6 personnel recommendations to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption.
It has been, no.
So moved.
Did I hear a second?
Support.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Are there any questions or is there any discussion? I'm sorry.
So, yes, I have a question. So does this include our pink slip employees or no?
Pink slip employee?
Are we, so does this mean we're bringing everybody else back that's not on this list?
Currently, we had a human resource subcommittee meeting. Mr. Del Morning, if you want to speak to that, what was that? Is that Mr.? Yeah, that's you. If you would like to speak to that, we can, but that's you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I'm not the chair of the Human Resources.
So why are you there? Okay.
Okay, sorry. We do make it, we human. Okay, sorry. Pastor Gilbert.
So Pastor Gilbert, do you take over at this moment? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a typo error.
First of all, thank you, Superintendent Jones.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Trustee.
Yeah.
I would like to say that I could not be there due to the fact that I had something that came up, and Sister Laura chaired the meeting, and so she done a good job. And so it seemed to me, and I came in on the Zoom part of it, and it was an excellent meeting. I appreciate Sister Laura for what she done in the entire meeting. So that's what happened. So where are we at now?
So the question that board member Carol had, or McIntyre, sorry, had was, so what about pink slips? So we don't have any pink slips. And I think you're speaking to the non-renewals. Okay, so we don't have any non-renewals that we're bringing forward to the board. Ms. Laura, you remember that conversation? Okay.
Didn't we have a resignation
That's not
that's not on here?
It's on here. But it's not a pink, it's not a non-renewal.
Okay, what would that be considered? Let me see. Oh, you got another piece of paper? Okay, well, because we just getting this, and if we would have voted yes, we wouldn't have had this, and it would have been yes for everything, right?
They're walking in the adjustments.
Yeah, well, I need to see what all the adjustments is before I take a vote. I mean, it should all be introduced at the same time.
With permission, I think it might be better explicated with Mrs. Galloway's. She did a very good, succinct summary of That's,
Would you like Ms. Galloway to come?
I
and
would,
support?
if she would be so gracious as to, she can say it much better than I would just make a hash of it.
Thank you, Ms. Galloway. She's gonna come forward.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so
Kind of
much.
pull your mic closer
Yeah.
to you.
good evening.
Okay. So maybe if you could just like reiterate what you were saying in the subcommittee meeting about how that there were 3 criteria for renewals and non-renewal, and how the certain circumstances that we find ourselves in indicated that there was no cause for like non-renewal. What is, yeah. Yeah.
So when we discussed, there were specific questions about non-renewal at this HR subcommittee meeting. And at that time, we did not have anyone listed for non-renewal. Employees were notified that there would be a possibility that they would be considered for non-renewal due to the current fiscal situation of the district, right? Well, we had a meeting to discuss whether or not schools were going to be closed. We had not determined that yet. The second notice is due April 30th. So I'm not saying the schools aren't going to be, but the second notice to say why an employee would be non-renewed is due April 30th. So at the time of the HR subcommittee, at the time to push a motion forward to this board, there were not employees submitted by the superintendent or the administration for the board to consider for non-renewal.
Those 3 criteria are performance. What were the other 2?
Performance, fiscal, and reorganization. Those are the 3 reasons that you could give to non-renew an employee.
And I thought we were under reorganization at this point. And we were supposed to look at our EDEP situation. And when we came up with some scenarios, we were told that we didn't need to do that at this time. So if we're looking to close and then we renew all these people and we close a building, then it would seem that we would be under obligation to all these people we decided to help, decided to keep, whether we close a building or not. They'll be under contract at that point.
That is correct.
So how is that? How are we being physically responsible if we got together to speak about school closures, and when we made a decision, we were encouraged not to do that? But then shortly after, the pink slip renewal came, which the pink slips had already gone out, which means we should have been making a decision, being encouraged to make a decision if we were gonna make one. So now we're gonna be carrying, we're already top heavy, so we're gonna be carrying additional employees if we close the building, and we're already in the red, in a deficit. And we also had already spoke to Ms. Zakowski as a board, and she told us there's no way we can survive and keep all these buildings open. So I don't know how we're being physically responsible like this, but and also my other question is, we have Miss Galloway. We also still have Miss Georgina Rubin on our payroll. So are we keeping both of them and we're physically strapped and we're bleeding?
So Ms. Galloway is the executive director of Human Resource, and Ms. Rubin, who's currently on leave, is the Human Resource Manager. Both of those positions were already budgeted, and they're 2 different positions.
And I thought that we were cutting one, that's why Ms. Rubin was filling. Yeah, we were cutting one, that's what we had agreed on. And that's why Ms. Rubin was trying to apply for the other job, because one of the positions had been cut. So now we've hired an additional, because did we add, because we hired an additional person now, like I said. So we're taking on more administrators, and we were supposed to be trying to streamline and reorganize so that we can be more efficient as a district. And instead, we've picked up another administrator for a big salary, already in the red, already top heavy, already was supposed to be reorganizing. And that's not what we do. And we said to be financially and physically responsible, we had to reorganize our district because we were top heavy. We had almost more employees at the top than we had students. And we said that we had to make some decisions and close some buildings. And none of those things are happening. So that's all I want to say. Because I don't understand how we're gonna keep Ms. Rubin. And I don't see how we're gonna keep all our employees. I thought we agreed that we were gonna have to make some tough decisions. I don't see that happening. I'm done.
Mr. Pastor Gilbert, he's chairing. Pastor Gilbert, I believe.
Yes, go ahead.
I have my hand.
Sister Laura.
Joe, are you going or I go? Okay.
Sister
Okay.
Laura.
I agree, Carol, and I did raise those issues as well in the subcommittee meeting. And I also had questions about the student affairs office, because we had talked about over the past year, remember we talked about it in the
About student services.
Student
We didn't speak
services.
about what Ms. McIntosh just said.
but she's correct that we have had, so these were the things that I was talking about in the subcommittee meeting, about lifting up, bringing them back, because these are the conversations that we've had over the past year and a half about restructuring, looking at student services, looking at looking at the top-heavy administration and making these reorganizations, which is what, we were talking about performance, fiscal, and reorganization. And Carol, to your point, in my mind, Mrs. Galloway was explaining that we had a deadline of April 30th of this year. So these things aren't off the table. We're not talking about them. However, given the current deadlines of this year, we can't.
Will there be a meeting scheduled in time for you to make some changes by April 30th?
By this April
If you don't
30th,
do it tonight, yes.
is that something we would, given the timeframe, it was my understanding that we would not have the time to do that, but.
So in this conversation, there's pieces of the conversation that we should hold off on talking about because there's a person that's not in district at the time, and we should hold off on that conversation. I would recommend and hope that you would consider to hold off on that conversation about the person that's not in district at the time. But I would say that our deadline is April 30th. And so the question that Ms. Carroll has, we can discuss as we go back into meetings as it pertains to the EDEP. But to answer that question today, there's no non-renewals to bring to the board today.
If we don't bring non-renewals to the board today, does that mean that it's just off the table completely for this fiscal year?
It's not an action item. I wouldn't say that. I would say it's not an action item.
One of the things that we discussed in the subcommittee meeting was that if there is truly reorganization, performance, or fiscal issues, those things would drive the decisions of the district and the board. Right now, because non-renewal is upon us, now we're looking at specific people, and it could appear that the real reason is not one of those three reasons. So I am not to say what the board can do, or cannot do, but the deadline is a legal deadline that we have to abide by, and we have to give them notice, and we have to tell them why, so that they would have an opportunity to defend themselves, particularly in reference to the employee that was mentioned in HR. She is currently legally
Right, I
protected.
understand.
Yep.
Okay, this is,
I want to read this because I had her to look this up. Point out, if I had my hand up. Okay, go ahead, do it your way. Okay, there is an HR sub. Are you calling me or are you calling someone else to do it? Okay.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, there is an HR sub on April the 25th. A special meeting can be held following that meeting. That's why I was having her to do a little research.
Pastor Gibbert. And I think we could finish some of these conversations, because there's a lot that we didn't get to discuss at that last meeting they had was some very important information to bring the board up to date, but it got interrupted and they could not get up to par because some board members had been absent, and we was trying to bring them up to par what was going on. So I do recommend that we do have another meeting, but then a lot of stuff would go back to the HR on April the 25th. That's all I have to say.
Sister Megan, Josh?
And for the record, I'd like to state, I've been asking about the pink slips and non-renewals since January. And I guess that's why I come to the board table so discouraged, because when you ask in advance and try to get a jump on things, it's not time. And then when it's almost time, it's too late to do anything or make a decision. And then we end up overextended and in the red and carrying more than we can financially handle. And our kids and our teachers always end up with the short stick when we know we have a financial issue. It hurts the bottom line, not the top line. So I just want to put that out there to everybody. Let's not pretend like we didn't have time. We've had time, and we've been discussing it, and I've been ready to look at these issues because we got major issues. And our issue is not, a former board member used to always say this, our issue is customer service. And they were so right. I'm done.
Sister Laura?
So I hear you. Those are my concerns too. Is it possible that we can have a special meeting? Because I know we have, there's some things we can't talk about until other things happen, but if we could have maybe a special meeting before we have the regular meeting, do we need to have like a human resource committee of the whole meeting so that we can address this?
Maybe that we should.
Would that help,
I'm gonna be honest, we probably need one, because I'm not gonna support, I'm a trustee of this district.
Yeah.
Not a trustee of saving nobody's job and, coddling any adults. I'm a trustee of the district. I have a fiduciary responsibility to this district to support the financial bottom line so that we can continue to operate as a public school. And we not handling the business. And I am going to be honest, I am not supporting any personnel recommendations without us doing our due diligence and handling our business, because we have had ample time to address the things we need to address. We have had ample time to get our paperwork together, to do the things that we are talking about doing. So the fact that this is in this lane and that's in that lane, that's why we can't address it. We've had time to do all of that, and we knew this day was coming. So I'm gonna be honest, and if we don't do the due diligence, it's an automatic hard no for me.
so Pastor Gilbert, is that something, Monica, that Pastor Gilbert has to, would you be willing to call for a public, a human relation subcommittee meeting of the whole? Would you be willing, committee of the whole? Would you be willing to do that so that we can address this? It's not like an emergency, it would be a special meeting because of the timeliness of the April 30th deadline.
So the action item that we are asking to move forward is personnel recommendations that is on this list. I think that the conversation we're having is two different conversations. We can still talk about non-renewal or that conversation in a committee of the whole, but we're talking about the recommendations for employment and the recommendations for retirement, resignations, and offers rescinded. That does not disqualify us from talking about how we want to move forward with those folks that Ms. McIntosh is talking about. That does not stop us from doing this work here. So the action item that I'm asking to send forward is the page that Ms. Monica just provided.
So I'm wondering if we can either table this action item for tonight and bring it to the special meeting that we will have between now and the regular meeting. Or we can, and add this to the agenda, because there will be discussions and decisions and action items in the interim that are gonna impact this particular action item, if that makes sense. Because I think that's what you're saying, right, Carol?
I would support that.
So, particularly in the personnel recommendations, there is a teacher who has been waiting for the past 2 months to be approved by this board to start. The last meeting, committee of the whole meeting that we had, his recommendation was included in personnel recommendations, and the entire motion was not moved. I have spent, myself and my team have spent several phone calls speaking to him because he has been concerned about whether or not there is really an offer for him to come and teach for the district, and whether or not he should communicate to his current job that he has another job, because it appears that Flint Community Schools does not want to hire him. So we took time to explain to him the process, what it means and how it works. And so I just wanted to inform you all that that is a part of that personnel recommendation. And this part of the process does make it a little difficult, particularly when we're hiring teachers to be in the classrooms.
So,
Order. Gotta recognize the chair. You're not gonna get the floor until you do. Brother Chris?
Thank you. So
Within 90 days before the end of their contract, one of the three. Yes, sir.
So without doing that tonight or during a special meeting, then there would be no layoffs, let me say, come August.
Unless there are people that would be, that are being brought forth
Yeah,
to non-renew.
okay. So one of the problems I'm having is we're under a deficit elimination plan. If we close no schools by August because of the time sensitivity to find out where the students will be attending, make all those arrangements, and there are no layoffs, then I believe what we are doing as a board, as a district, is simply kicking that can down the road. It extends the length of time that we have to get our finances in order, but more importantly, it increases the amount that we need to eliminate, because now we've spent more for one extra year, and I don't know what that does for the district, because I don't know where else you cut. If you're not cutting personnel, if you're not closing buildings, you could cut our wages, we get $30 a board meeting. I don't know what that does in a multi-million-dollar budget. So we have some hard decisions to make. And I realize that as we close schools, if we have 40 teachers at one school, simply as an example, and we close that school, we may not be laying off 40 teachers or X amount of administrators, because those students are now going to classrooms that are now empty that need teachers. Granted, there might be some classes not totally full and they can fit in there, but I don't think all of them. I mean, some teachers are going to have to follow those students. But that being said, I'm concerned about the district's finances. Now I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
President?
If we look at, item A and G and the package that we got for her recommendation, we talk about teachers, we need these two staff. We don't like to hold this district up, this PE guy, and these people have been waiting a while, and we're depriving the district of that opportunity. We have never done that as a board. If we go down to your resignation, this is a person on here is resigning. We got to have this done, even just to post a job. In your resignation, the top person, and this have to be done today, to prove the resignation, so HR can post this job opening, so we can fill that position. So, this is what we're asking. We're going to the pink slip, to the school building, and they just making a recommendation for these items. We all on the same page about the school and the district and all of that, and we just did not complete that because we got to get back to that. But the most important thing, we have some administrator, teachers that's been waiting, and they've been waiting going on almost 2 months. And we never had our teachers to wait this long. And then we got a resignation that we got to get this job posted, so to fill it, and we're gonna postpone this, and which is a legal issue, because we can't even talk about the opening until we have approved this and accept the resignation. That's all I have to say as a board.
So what I'm suggesting to accommodate everything and to be fiscally responsible and move the district forward with expediency is that maybe what you're recommending, Mrs. Galloway, especially about the teacher appointment, is we can separate, we've done this in the past, we can separate the items, so especially section A, we can move that forward and vote right now. But for the rest of them, we can pull the, so we can separate different ones. So with the pleasure of the board, we can maybe vote on each individual one, and then we can have the special Human Resource Committee of the whole meeting, put this on that special meeting and bring it forward. So if there's not gonna be, it's still gonna be brought forward to the regular meeting, but we'll just have that, we'll have other things that happen in between, and then we'll have a chance to do our due diligence. And then, so the end result will be the same, but we'll address Carol's concerns and some of the concerns that I had in the subcommittee meeting as well. Does that?
Were you done, Sister Laura?
Yes.
I'd also like to ask this coordinator to health services, the health service department, who's going to be added to the administrators, I guess. Is this position a new position? Was this somebody's position previously? Because I don't ever remember us having this. Yeah.
It's a replacement of Miss Eileen Tomasi. She came back out of retirement to fill the position, and she's going into retirement. So it is not a new position. It's a replacement of a person who came out of retirement to help us.
Which brings me to my next portion. Did we seek somebody? Did we go within the district?
She was currently working in the district.
Was she?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
what was her previous, because usually it'll say a job change assignment if they were previously in the
She
district.
was a contracted person, so it wouldn't be a change of assignment. Those positions that work up under Ms.
So she was a
Tomasi.
contract from what company? A third party?
Correct.
So
Because
that's
all
not
of
within the
those
district
positions,
then, is it? If
all
you a
of those
third party?
positions, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no, but if you,
Let us make our comments. Let us communicate. Let us finish. Let us hear one another. Thank you.
Just getting the update.
but if it is a third party company, then that is not from within. That's from outside.
All of the positions in that department are contracted. So all of the people who are eligible for that role in that type of work are
Through
contracted.
this third party.
Yes,
service.
ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Gall.
Yes,
See, I
ma'am.
love that, Ms. Gall. You know, I think you're gonna do a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank
that.
Now, we got any further discussion? I do have a couple of questions, so I'll go last. Ms. Galloway, the individual that you spoke of, they're in the 1.6, as Sister Laura suggested to separate. is that that individual is in that action item
Yes,
here?
sir. Yes, sir, he's under teachers.
He's under A,
Yes.
recommendations for employment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And the other thing is concerning the non-renewal.
Mhm.
You spoke of performance and as far as what you look at?
The reasons that we
yes.
could non-renew. There are three reasons: fiscal, performance, and reorganization.
Reorganization. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there any further discussion? Madam President?
So the resignation you're postponing, you're gonna not approve any of these resignations? Why you guys are not approving the resignation part? And the retirement and resignation, you're not gonna, approve to move that forward? Is this my understanding?
No, I just asked about that individual, if they were in this A section. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, and then I guess I'm asking a different question, part
Yes.
G. Are
Yes.
we gonna move this forward, or are we trying to fight the resignations and the, retirement? What are we doing with part G? You asked to postpone this.
Carol, do you have, would it be okay to, we've got section A, and we can separate the sections and do it individually.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we've got section G. Are there any sections that can be moved forward to your satisfaction in their entirety? Or do we need?
I'm looking at the paperwork. Resignations is fine, retirements are fine. I don't see any reason to hold those things up. My whole issue is the fact that we had some contracts roll over last year that I think the board needed to address, and we didn't get the opportunity because we slept that time. And now here we are again in a time crunch, and it's getting ready to roll over again. And I think we're doing the district an injustice because we're not doing our due diligence. So I don't want to say yes to this and everybody gets what they want that's important to them, and then we never really revisit the true heavy lifting that concerns the district, because the district is who always gets left behind. We do just enough to make it, and then the district is falling apart because the hard decisions and the heavy lifting, we tend to just abandon that, and we are in disarray. So my point is, I don't want to approve personnel recommendations going into a new school year. And we did not, because we said at the beginning of the year, and we voted on this as a board, that we were restructuring and reorganizing due to our financial situation in this district. And my concern is that I don't see that happening. Now is the time. So if we are going to revisit and really look at our pink slips and really make some real decisions, then I would support it. But if that's not what we're gonna do, and we're gonna end up snowball like we always seem to get done for whatever reason, okay, I'm done with that. I'm gonna beat a dead horse.
Brother Chris?
Thank you. To move Treasurer McIntyre's, let me say, recommendation or proposal forward, do we need a motion at this point?
We do.
I thought I heard Mo say that because you are the chair that you have to ask for it, or no, okay, so I was wrong with that. Okay.
So all right, so I will move that we, move this forward.
Are you amending or is it a new
Well,
one?
Point of order.
let me, Treasurer McIntyre, would you mind making a motion as to what you would want to see? And so it will garner support tonight.
Sister McIntyre?
Were you saying that can we defer to?
Yes,
Pass it to
certainly.
Carol, please?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the personnel recommendations with stipulations that these things move forward. These things, no, we can't do that?
You need to make an amendment.
Oh, okay. to make an amendment? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. You're right, because we already had a motion on the floor. So I'd like to make an amendment to Sister Laura's motion to separate Section A, and the amendment is to accept all of the personnel recommendations with the stipulations that we have a hard, definite date to revisit our pink slip situation. That's the amendment.
You've heard the amendment to the motion. Is there any clarification, any discussion? All minds, Brother Chris?
Yes. So you're referring to the walk-on portion right here, those 2 pages that we were given
Oh, yes.
earlier this evening?
Right, yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, so we'll be voting on A and B separately? If I understood.
I'm sorry, my packet goes from A to G, it don't,
And H.
and so, am I missing some pages or some sections?
No, I just think
What's
it's.
going on?
Right. I guess I'm looking at what I was given to see.
Yeah, but she said something about B.
Am I looking? I got 2 pages.
That should be B.
A.
Oh, is that what it is? That should be C. Okay, oh.
It should
Thank
say
you,
A,
Superintendent
B.
Jones.
No, we pulled them off, so she
Is
got
that
A
what- is
from
that
the
what it
last.
is, or is it-
You know, this is stuff carried over, so
So
we're
it was
doing
in the
A,
last
G,
packet.
and H from
So
the
you just
last
moved
stuff.
it.
We had to move up.
There's no B.
Okay,
I only see A and G.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to be, and H.
Oh.
It's at the bottom of this page,
What do?
H.
it's under other.
What is this thing that we were given tonight at the last minute? Is this what we're talking about
Your
or something
walk-in,
else?
yeah, your walk-in.
Okay, so I don't have no H, I don't have nothing on the back page. I have A and G.
And H at the bottom.
Okay. Thank you.
All minds are clear? All right, now, we've heard the amended motion. Any further discussion on the amended motion? Madam Secretary, roll call, please. I do it, I'm sorry. Yes, I do it, I do it.
It's been a long week.
Thank you. Yes. 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 Is all minds clear to the regular board meeting, correct? All right. Okay. So, seeing there's no further discussion, I'll do the roll call. You answer by saying A or nay to approve the amended motion. The amended motion. We all clear?
Yeah.
Good. As I call your name, please answer by saying A or nay to approve the motion, the amended motion. Ms. Booz?
Yay.
Ms. A. Thank you.
A.
Yes, thank you,
Second.
Sister Monica. Any further discussion? No further discussion, we'll take the roll call. As I call your name, say A or nay to approve the motion or to deny the motion. Ms. Booz?
A.
Ms. McIntyre?
A.
Dr. McNeil?
A.
Ms. McIntosh?
A.
Mr. Del Marone?
A.
Yours truly is A. The amendment passes.
And thank you, Mrs. Galloway.
Six.
Thank you.
Is it 6-0? The amendment is adopted. Now,
Point of information, or, go ahead.
Point, go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
I think you're going there. We're now going to vote on the motion.
Yes, correct. And now we go back to the motion. Following the discussion that we had with the amendment, seeing there's no further discussion, action item 1.6, recommendations to the regular meeting for adoption be conducted by a roll call vote. As your name is called, please say yea or nay to approve the motion. All minds are clear? Ms. Booth? Ms. McIntyre?
A.
Dr. McNeil?
A.
Ms. McIntosh?
Aye.
Mr. Del Maroney?
Yay.
Yours truly is a. Motion passes 6-0 to that. 1.6, to move it to the regular meeting. And now to, thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, I declare the Human Resource, pardon?
Saying thank you to Ms.
Thank you,
Galloway.
thank you, Ms. Galloway, thank you. You please forgive me,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
and thank the board as well. Seeing no further discussion, I declare the Human Resources Committee adjourned. I now turn the floor over to Treasurer McIntyre for the Finance Committee of the whole portion of our agenda.
I would like to call the Finance and Operations Committee of the whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Mr. Jones to present action items to the board.
Good evening. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 11.6, authorization to issue final payment to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption.
So moved. Can I do it? Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on 11.6?
Just by way of background, it's the Murdoch bank.
Yes.
Correct.
Authorization to issue final payment, Murdoch Manufacturing. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 11.6, authorization to issue final payment to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say A or nay to approve this motion. Mrs. Booz? A. Mr. Del Maroney?
Yay.
Ms. Green is absent. Mr. Gilbert? Ms. McIntosh? Aye. Dr. McNeil? And myself, Laura McIntyre, aye. Motion passes by a vote of 6 yes to 0 no. Please continue, Mr. Jones.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 11.7, authorization to increase FY22 audit service contract to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption.
Point of information. Did we bring this forward? Okay, so it has been brought forward, okay.
I'm missing something.
I, for some reason I have it, somebody crossed it out and I'm not wondering why I did it or. Okay. Mr. Jones is seeking a motion in a second.
And
Was this discussed in the finance?
is the 11th,
This,
point of information.
so
is
we're in the
11th
middle of,
Are we on 11.7?
11.7.
Okay.
yeah. Right. Oh, second. Okay, so it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
What,
Chris Del Maroney?
what was your question regarding, did we move this forward? Were you referring to out of finance committee?
So I apologize for the confusion. I thought that we had not moved this particular, action item forward
I didn't,
from the subcommittee meeting. This is the authorization to increase fiscal year 22 audit services contract. And it was, I thought we were still requesting invoices.
I did too, I didn't think.
So I'm confused as to why this is being brought up as an action item because
I didn't hear that.
I didn't think we brought it forward from the subcommittee meeting, from the finance subcommittee meeting.
Can those of you, can you speak to, I wasn't there, so I want to make sure.
But the board document, I'm sorry, when she presented the action item.
Can you speak into the mic more? We can't hear you well.
Sure. The board documents had already been submitted prior to you all's finance subcommittee meeting. So you all discussed it and there wasn't a consensus at the time to bring it to the COW. But these documents were already completed, if that makes, you understand what I'm saying? So we should have just skipped it because it was, all the documents were already submitted. Right, it didn't move from the subcommittee.
But there's already been a moved and seconded.
Well, wait a minute though, if we didn't move it forward to the board, then it can't be moved and seconded, because we didn't move it to the board to be moved and seconded on. I would think.
It did not. It should not be an action.
And we should be skipping it, like the superintendent said.
So do you redact it all together, or do we table this?
I think we redacted it. I mean, it did make it to the table.
So,
if I may,
you may.
your board bylaws state that you cannot fail something in a subcommittee. However, if there was request to get further information and lay on the table, then you lay on the table and it comes back. I was not aware of that.
So does that mean it does not come to the COW, or it does?
You needed more
We
information,
needed more information,
Gotcha.
and that was the,
and you guys held your meeting
Consensus.
yesterday. The
Yes.
board packet was prepared
Correct.
Friday.
Right.
So
Okay. So are we skipping it, or are we out?
Do we table it?
yeah, because I don't think we,
withdraw the motion.
That's what I would think.
can we have it? I didn't make the motion.
Do I?
Who made the, I think it was Pastor Gilbert.
Pastor Gilbert made the motion.
So where are we at on this?
We want to withdraw the motion.
Want to
But
withdraw?
I sought a motion. You gave me the motion. We need you, if you will, sir, to withdraw the motion until further information on those invoices come forward.
That came out of the human resources.
Finance and
Finance.
operations.
You're talking about the finance,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Sorry, Ms. Lord.
I'll make a motion to withdraw it.
Support.
Do we have to vote on that? Or it's just,
No,
Okay.
it doesn't.
all right, so, thank you. Sorry for the
That's fine.
confusion. Okay, please continue, Mr. Jones.
All right, I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 11.8, authorization to contract payroll services to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption.
So move.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? McIntosh.
I guess this will call for Ms. Dupree. Ms. Dupree, what was our answer? Get down to the business.
Good evening. Good
Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
contacted Erin Miracle, and she said that she would be willing. However, she wasn't expecting to do the month of May and June. And with the month of May and June, this year end that will come up, which will require her to increase the workload. So she will have to do retirements and need to process through ORS and then set up the new year. And so what she is requesting is an additional $250 per payroll in order to do it. So to go from 1,500 to 1,750 to do the month of November. To do the month of May and the month of June. I'm sorry, I'm on year end, calendar year end. She said it's because she will have to do, it'll be increasing the workload because she'll have to do retirements. She'll have to do year end. And then she would do, she has to process retirements through ORS. And she will have to set up the new year that would start for July 1. So that would all have to be done in the month of May and June. I just want to clarify that the posting will stay open. And as soon as we receive any candidates, they will be interviewed for the position. And her option would be to do this until we fill the position.
Thank you, Sister, Madam Chairperson, Finance Chair. Ms. Dunbury, would there be any break in the income or the pay for the employees if this is not approved?
If this is not approved, we do not have anyone to do payroll after the April 22nd payroll. There will be no one to process payroll after the April 22nd payroll.
The other question, if I may, Madam Chair, is that, so this extended employee's last day is when?
So she's not an employee anymore. She's helping on a contract basis. So we have her contracted through the April 22nd payroll. And once that's done, she will be done if we don't do something today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you finished? Mr. Delmaroni?
So, out of the subcommittee meeting, there was discussion of her doing it or the prodigious payroll, let me say group company. And the way this reads right here, it says or. And one of my concerns was that it gives the administration the latitude to pick one or the other. And there is a difference in the amount that would be paid to, let me say, Erin Miracle or prodigious payroll. Prodigious payroll would be much more. So I think this needs to be amended that we first go with Erin because it was the lower cost and she's more familiar with our system than prodigious. But I will defer right now to superintendent if he has some more information.
So we were asked by the board to find another option. And so those choices are for the board to make. We made sure that you had two options. That's the options we have. We could not really find a lot of third-party companies that did payroll that were available. So we found Prodigious and we had Miss Erin Miracle. We wanted to give the board the option to choose which way you would like to go. And that's why we provided the finance, what that would cost as well. So it's not for the administration to make a choice. It's for the board to make that choice.
Thank you, Superintendent Jones. That was going to be my comment, Brother Chris. Would it be better if we were to choose this, what is this, prodigious payroll?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking the board. I'm asking my colleagues.
So if I may, in the subcommittee meeting, we did have this discussion and, there was the discussion about the pros and the cons of both, and we kind of were at the consensus that, the second option, would be the best fiscally, financially, and I believe, Mrs. Dumpre, there was discussion about amending this contract or change, because you had to get, Mrs. Dumpre had to get in contact with the individual in question between yesterday and this meeting. And so she did, and that's what she was relaying, was that this individual would be agreeable, but with the 250, I believe there's like four, you said there are 4 payrolls, and so it would be 250 for each of those 4 payrolls?
Correct, which would be a total of $1,000.
And so we were just waiting to hear the results for that so that we could eliminate the prodigious payroll or from this action item. So Carol and then Joyce?
And also coming from the finance subcommittee meeting, prodigious or whatever, they were considerably more expensive. They're way in Detroit. We're probably not gonna be their only client, which means if we have an immediate payroll issue, we might not get nobody today or tomorrow. And the administration brought up the point that we run into payroll issues from time to time, and with that being such a tender subject, that it would be more beneficial to have an individual in the district that we can actually go stand before and say, look, we're in a panic, we have this issue, can you fix this? Because we are already fragile when it comes to our employees, so we want to get them paid. And we, at the finance committee, came up with the fact that we think an actual person that we can contact directly would be probably best for the district.
That's true. Prodigious would be remote, and because of our antiquated systems using DOS. Dr. McNeil, you
I just want to thank Ms. Dumpre for such fast action.
Yes.
You know, she done what we requested, and I think we got the answer that we need. And we know that we're gonna use, are we saying we're gonna go with Aaron Miracles, right?
I think that's, we're in
Okay,
discussion.
we into it, okay, I'm sorry,
We're in
okay.
discussion,
All right.
and
Thank
so
you,
we would
thank you very
need-
much, I don't need to
Yeah.
repeat it all the time. Okay.
Was there any discussion between yourself and Aaron Miracle as to her providing training when someone is brought on board?
Yes, we did have that discussion. And so similar to what we had done with Prodigious when we were showing them, she would be willing to do the same thing. And so it may have to be on a virtual basis.
So I would like to amend do we have a motion on the floor at this point? So I'd like to amend the motion to go with Aaron Miracle in the amount of $1,500 per payroll
So,
period.
okay, I need to amend that. That's $1,750 per payroll.
But that's not for each of the weeks, just the last,
No, that's the
The
next
last
4
4.
weeks.
the next 4.
So that would be for 4 weeks. So for the payroll in May, 2 payrolls in May and
Okay.
2 payrolls in June. So she's under the contract for the one in April at $1,500, but this would be for the 4 payrolls in May and June. So that's what we need to adjust to
That's what's
$1,750.
before us, just those 4 payrolls right now.
Mhm.
Okay, so in the amount of $1,750, and with the understanding that she would also provide training to whoever is hired, whoever, either individual or firm.
Support.
So it has been amended and supported. And seconded. Do I do discussion on that? Yes. Is there any discussion? Pastor Gilbert.
Yes, I are thinking about our employees in our district, their livelihood, and their circumstances. and I'm gonna vote yes. Ordinarily, I would not. But because of our district and our employees, our administrators and all, you don't play with people's money. You don't do that. And that's the reason that I'm gonna vote yes. I'm a little uneasy about it, but our district, they have families, they have responsibilities, and I want them to know that I appreciate them. And that's why I'm gonna vote yes. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 11.8, authorization to contract payroll services as amended to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say aye or nay to approve this motion. Mrs. Booz? Aye. Mr. Del Maroni?
Aye.
Ms. Green is absent. Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh? Dr. McNeil?
Yes.
And myself, Laura McIntyre, aye. Motion passes by a vote of 6 yes to 0 no. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Seeing no further business for the Finance and Operations Committee, I declare this committee adjourned. I now turn the floor over to, thank you, Mrs. Dumfry, to President McNeil for the Board Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda. Time of adjournment, 8:41.
Okay, thank you. That was a lot. We have resolution 21.9, authorization to increase and renew Flint School Board style technician contract. I seek a motion and a second to move action 21.29 to the regular board meeting on April the 20th for adoption.
So moved.
It has been properly moved and second. Is there any discussions?
I'm sorry, because I'm not finding.
That's okay, yeah, okay.
Which one is, what?
20, page 29.
Okay, let me see.
Action item 21.
Okay, I have, thank you, sir. Okay, authorization. And we are increasing the budget for sound technician, where at? And we're increasing the budget by how much?
4,000. I think that's what it is. And he's gonna speak on it, explain it as well.
Yeah, because Stephen got that.
I'll stay over here if that's all right, just to make sure. So I just adjusted the contract simply because, I've been doing this for quite a while now, I believe since you've been on the board, at the same rate since I started. I just changed it, $25 to $75 an hour, but I've increased, like overtime. So in addition to, if we go over, as we've been, and we've done several additional meetings that I've been called to, it's simply to cover the additional funds needed. And also it encompasses the change from when I first started, it was simply sound. We changed to virtual, now we're back and I'm doing both at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve.
No problem. Hey, I know, is there any other questions you all have? No worries.
I'm satisfied.
Any other discussion? Chris Demaroni?
Yes, I first want to say thank you for the work. My concern is it sounds like there's a cap as to what you're paid, though it does reference dollar amounts per hour. I know we have quite a few special meetings and more meetings than I think maybe what previous boards have had, just especially the subcommittee meetings. I'm just wondering, is this enough?
I believe so. Yeah, I did, to be honest with you, the last contract was $8,000. I bumped it to 20 just to be safe, so we don't have to continue. For example, this fiscal year, we are already over 8,000 with the special meetings. So it's simply to encompass any additional special meetings. I wasn't trying to make it look like I was being too greedy. It is in the contract, I can bring it for you, or I can turn it into administration to bring for you. We need to adjust if for whatever reason, though I doubt it, we would go over. But for example, yeah, as of right now for this fiscal year, and we saw this month, May and June, I am at 8,025. So it's just simply to encompass, just in case. I know the district's going through a lot of changes. I just figured.
Yeah, no, I have no problem. If you're happy, I think I'm happy.
I just want to say, Steve, thank you, and you got a long way to go. We gonna need your service. We got a lot to do with ESSA funds, community forums, and so I just think you're very modest, but so I appreciate you. I got to know how the system works, and so you're working. I'm done. Any more comments? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 21.29, authorization to increase and renew Flint School Board sound technician contract in a regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yay or nay. Chris Del Moroni,
Yay.
Linda Booth, Laura McIntyre, Kara McIntosh,
Yes.
Alan Gibbert,
Yeah,
Daniel Griffin, absent. Myself, Joyce McNeil. Motion passed, 6 yeas, 1 absent. Oh, you're welcome. He said thank you, guys.
You earnest, Stephen.
Resolution 21.30, authorization and renewal of Neola's board policy. I seek a motion and second to move action 21.30 to the regular board meeting on April the 20th for adoption.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second. Is there any discussion? Yes, Chris?
Yeah, so I've heard the Neola name come up, stuff, and recently, we're voting here to, Flint Board of Education adopts the Neola version of board policies and recognizes them as the official board policy of the school district of the city of Flint. Quite honestly, I do not know Neola board policies. I've never seen them. I've never been given a copy of them. So I actually do not know what I'm approving of this, or what I'm voting for in that sense.
Yes. Pastor Gifford.
Madam President, I really don't have any more to say because Brother Chris said exactly what I was going to say. I've never seen them. And is there a copy of them? I certainly would like to have those so that I would know what I'm voting on. I'll probably vote yes, but as I said, I'm a little uneasy about it.
Okay, McIntosh.
Mo explained it because Neola is renewed automatically by a team of lawyers, and it makes it a little easier for her as legislation changes concerning school boarding in the district. However, as a board member, I like writing our own policies because that gives us authority over our district to make decisions as a board. We currently hold both of them. Me, myself, we've had both of them all this time. I don't want to make Mo's job harder. And they say you can add on to Neola. I, as the chair of the governance committee, am reviewing along with the board our policies. I would like to keep both of them and tweak our policies and add them to Neola to make them appropriate for our district. I think with the situations we find ourselves in due to the fact that we are an unorthodox district, for us to lock into what everybody else locks into could be an issue for us because we are very different and our situations are very different. And I think we need the leeway to be flexible in the district as a board. Thank you.
Who has not spoken?
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to our very wonderful executive assistant, Sister Monica. If you would allow her, if we could just hear her thoughts.
Thank you, Board. Of course, this has been a long process. Neola services all of Genesee County school districts. And we do have a Flint version and a Neola version. They often are considered supplemental, and that's how the Neola's version has been supplemental, meaning Flint's version supersedes. And so as long as you as a board recognize both, I would love to bring in Mr. Wright, it's Wayne Wright from Neola, to the governance team to share with the board what it is that Neola does. And yes, the board has sole authority to approve policy. That's what you do. So if Neola pushed forward something from legislation, you can tweak it as long as it keeps us compliant. So if you want to modify this resolution and we keep both, I will do the pleasure of the board.
Okay, I just want to chime in, and I agree with what both is saying. And I think what we're trying to do for the public, we're trying to unify these policies. Karen McIntyre, the board, we're going to be working. We're trying to undo some things and put in some good things where we just have a balanced system. And we're going to need both of them. And it's going to be a lot of work, Steve. And so I appreciate that we have taken this initiative. We have been complaining about policy. From day one that I came, Neola, I had to learn to find Neola. I had to learn it's on the website. And I had to go and I had to look it up and I had to compare what Neola says to what the policy says. So that's why I'm saying we're having these workshops and you should have a manual. We wasn't given that. And I just hope that when the new members, I hope you guys come back after the election. So when the new members come, or anybody sits in this seat, they will have their policies on both and they will have bylaws. Because we was denied that privilege coming in. And it's funny, but it's the truth. We were denied. I asked for Neola and I told her I couldn't have it, cost too much money. So I had to, print it myself and use my paper and my ink. And I asked to have my ink replaced. I told her that was too expensive. So I'm just saying that we all should have it. We should have it. And I shouldn't have to go to, like, some people don't like reading from the internet. And I sympathize with everything you say. When you come on board, and that's why we have our VP over here, she's over government. We're gonna follow these bylaws. You're gonna make sure you have everything you need. If you need anything, training, that's what the VP is, that's what she's gonna be doing. She's gonna get you your evaluation form, your board access. And so things gonna look a bit different to the public because we're moving in policy order, if that's okay. And we're gonna work together as a team. We're not gonna disagree, but that's the good thing about making policy. So I appreciate the board, stepping Neola, but not forgetting our policy. Mr. Gifford, I'm sorry, Mr. McIntyre.
I get that, but it says here that we're gonna rescind the Flint version of the board policies effective immediately. And so, and I hear, it's on page 36. So are we doing both or are we rescinding the Flint board policies and replacing it with Neola, or are they side by side, like,
We're making a motion, I'm making a motion
friendly amendment?
to, if it is the board's pleasure to accept Neola, in addition to our own board policies and bylaws, and make the adjustments necessary for them to coexist in this district. I want both of them, because I don't want to take any authority or anything from the board, because the board deals in these things particularly in detail. So I would think moving forward, whether I'm here or not, we will want our board to have that opportunity to do what's best in this district as it pertains to board policy and bylaws, but to respect Neola as well, because it is updated by attorneys for school boarding. So it is something in Neola of value for us, but I just don't think we should count ourselves out as it pertains to policies and bylaws. Oh, so the amendment is to accept Neola and the Flint Community School Board bylaws and policies as well.
Is there any more discussions?
Yes. Was that some type of a amendment or a motion, or what was that right there? Okay. Well, I'm gonna be voting no on this for several reasons. One, it says be it resolved that the Flint Board of Education adopts the Neola version. Number one, I haven't seen it, so I'm not gonna adopt it. A Neola version of board policies and recognize them as the official board policies of the school district of the city of Flint. That's number one there. Number four says, upon adoption of this resolution, the Neola policies will be the official board policies of the school district. And this here specifically is talking about an update of service in the amount of $1,295. Do we not already pay them about $5,000 or $8,000 a year? We pay them nothing.
No, you pay them this, I need the authorization to pay them
Mhm.
and have the board recognize them as dual sets of policy.
Okay, so
That's their fee.
for 1 year, $1,295, not $5,000 or nothing like that. Okay. Could I hear the motion restated, please?
The motion is to accept Neola and allow it to coexist secondary to the Flint Community School District's board policies and bylaws.
I understand policy because that's what it was talked about in here, but what is presented to us says nothing about bylaws.
Well, policies then, but the policies and the bylaws kind of go together. Yeah, they go together kind of.
Okay, so is there then an understanding that they have some influence on our bylaws also? And this $1,295, does that include both policy and bylaw? Okay, thank you.
Any more discussions? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 21.30, authorization and renewal of Neola board policy.
Madam President, you gotta deal with the amendment first.
Oh, we did. I have a motion and a second. I have a motion and a second to vote on the amendment, authorization, and the renewal of Neola board policy with the amendment. Hold on. As I call your name, please say yea and nay to approve the motion. Chris Delmarone,
Yes for the amendment.
Linda Booth,
Yes.
Laura McIntyre,
Yes.
Karen McIntosh,
Yes, for amended.
okay, Alan Gibbert,
Yes to the amendment.
Danielle Gray, and myself, yes. 6 Yes, and 0 nays, and 1 absent. Resolution 21.31, authorization of architectural service.
Point of order. Do we not need to vote on the motion?
The motion. The original motion to accept Neola, we didn't, we voted on the amendment. We didn't put the amendment and the motion together, so
So now we're gonna vote on the amendment.
the motion, we voted on the amendment, now the motion. The original motion to accept Neola, that's what we got.
Point of order, I think we should be voting on the amendment
We just did.
with the, let me call it, with the friendly amendment attached.
So you're saying, we did the amendment.
Right, we voted on the amendment, now we need to vote on the motion with the amendment,
We did, okay, all right.
because the amendment has become attached to the motion.
Seeking no further discussion, the motion to move action item 2130, authorization and renewal of Neola policy
With the friendly amendment.
with those friendly amendments to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call. As I call your name, please say yes or no. Chris Del Moroni,
No.
Linda Booth,
Yes.
Laura McIntyre,
Yes.
Karen McIntosh,
Yeah,
Alan Gilbert,
Yes,
Daniel Green absent, George Ellis Neal, myself, yes. We have 5 yes, 1 nay, and 1 absent. Resolution number 21.31, authorization of architectural service. I now give the floor to Superintendent Jones.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 21.31, authorization of architecture services, to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption.
so moved.
It has been properly moving second. Is there any discussions?
I just want to make sure the board remembers that this comes from our committee, I want to call it Finance Committee of a whole. I want to say that. We've been talking about bringing you all an action item to continue renovations in the district while we are making decisions. And we agreed upon making sure we bring this forward using the architect that we currently have. And so this is what this comes from, is you remember that you only approved Doyle Ryder for the architect that we currently have. And so this allows us, this motion allows us to continue work within the district by using this architect to support other renovations, so we don't hold up the opportunity for us to use the ESSER funds for renovations. That's what this is.
First of all, we have to operate within the competitive bidding process. That's state law. We can't just decide we're gonna give it to this architect. We have to put a bid out. The state
We did.
lined up with the law. You couldn't have put it, because you gotta do it per job, to
So,
my understanding.
so I'm sorry.
Go
You done?
ahead. No, go
Okay,
ahead.
so what you approved as it pertains to bidding for the architect, you stated as a board, only Doyle Ryder.
Right.
The RFP did not. So we bid it properly to have the RFP state and further renovations in the district. So we're not at construction yet. We haven't gotten to,
Well, it say construction costs, it say 5.2% construction cost. Stantec.
of the construction cost after we have gone through that process. Yes, we have to RFP the general contractor, you're right. But the way they get paid, remember we talked about the way they get paid.
They get a percentage from the
exactly
construction.
from the construction. We haven't gotten that far.
So what you're saying is you want this architect to oversee all the processes though?
Correct. We want to continue work in the
Okay.
district with other schools and renovations. And
Okay.
so since we already have an architect, we
I
want to
understand.
move things a little faster because of the sunset of the ESSER dollars.
Now, let me ask you this, because we had Tron handling RFPs, which they can handle an RFP for an architect as well, because the, RFP for the architect, you know, we did that because of the emergency situation with Doral Ryder, and you guys handled that RFP yourself, but that's not really how that go, and that ain't what the board voted for. But we you know, we went along with it because Doral Ryder is in a destitute type of way. And we needed as a district to get that together. But moving forward, we have time to do proper RFPs, and that includes for architecture, because are they done with Doral Ryder? I would like to see some of their work before we just give them the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, because we have the time to do that. Understand, we have a sunrise and sunset date on our ESSER funds, but we have to do the competitive bidding process, period. So I don't know if legally, just picking an architect and giving them all the work without bidding it out is even appropriate, because I have a friend that owns his own construction company, and I'm not sure that's how that goes. But anyway, I'm gonna let that alone, but that is why I'm struggling with supporting this, because we need to follow the appropriate RFP for the bid process.
And let's just read the policy. I am following the right where you're going. Before commencing construction of a new school building or addition to, repair, or renovation of an existing school building, except repairs in emergency situation, a school board shall obtain competitive bids on all matters and labor required for the complete construction of a proposed new building or addition to, repairs or renovation of an existing school building. The board should advertise for the bid required under section 1 by placing an advertisement for bid and leave once in the newspaper or general circulation in the area where the building or addition is to be constructed, or where the repairs or renovation of an existing building is to take place, and by posting an advertisement for bid and for at least 2 weeks on the Department of Management and Budget website or another website the department designate for this purpose. And because we'd be making decisions when we first got these funds, and okay, and that's what we're doing now. If there's a question, we go back to the policy, and this is the law right here. And so we have to look at the law. And so keeping in mind though as well, we're gonna have to start doing due diligence, because there's a shorter supply and a demand for these firms. So we're gonna have to really pick up our game so we can get these bids out here. And we know we do have a firm that's working with us right now. But at the same time, we got to put it out there, and hopefully we can get somebody to get it going so we can start these renovations. Because our desire is to have our school, kind of halfway ready to go. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and Superintendent Jones, I mean, I do recall the conversations, but my recollection of the conversation was that we had reservations about this. And I remember Pastor Gilbert, we talked about not approving, what is Stantec? Is that the name of this? For a specific project, and to keep them in mind because of the difficulties with construction and ESSER funding and stuff, but that not to give them carte blanche to just do any project at any price, at any time, at anywhere. It was like, no, we still needed to RFP and approve each project. So there was severe reservation about this particular action item, and I don't remember bringing it forward. I thought this was the part that we had declined. I thought this was the part that we said no to.
authorization to use Stantec for future renovations performed through ESSER funding and begin renovations on school buildings in the district. That's the action, and I thought that was the part that we extracted from a previous action item, because this is the part that we did not want. So another thing is that I'm still really troubled with the RFP process for Doyle Ryder, and I, like, once burned, twice shy. I want to make sure, because I thought when we were doing Doyle Ryder that would be ESSER funds, not general funds, and we are on the tab for something that we just can't afford. I'm glad Doyle Ryder is getting, I'm glad we're protecting our scholars. I'm glad we're protecting that beautiful building, but out of the general fund, that just kills me.
Okay, so I'm gonna go backwards. So Ms. Domprey put it in the general fund just in case, because we were moving that process. She put it in the general fund and budgeted in the general fund. She stated this just in case there was a problem in the process, but we found out that we could pay for this. She put it in there just in case. It wasn't finalized that we had to pay for this out of the general fund. She put it in there just in case their process of the RFP wasn't correct. So that's what was stated. Now, the second part is, Ms. Laura, in the meetings we were having in the enrollment department, I asked the board, so what would you like me to do? You said bring an action item so that we can move forward with some of these renovations. And so we did talk a while back when I first brought this up about Stantec. I had another architectural service, and the board said, no, we're not doing that. Let's just only do this for Doyle Ryder. But we've had meetings since then, finance meetings since then, and we started talking about some of the schools that we know we want to keep. And so let's do some renovations. I think Board President talked about painting and doing different things. And so in order for this to happen, I had to bring an action item to you so that we can do something while we have this money. If we keep waiting, as we know, and as I talked to Doyle Ryder staff and Potter, they can't move in until January because of resources based on our walk with Stantec. And so knowing that, the longer we wait to move on things, we may not be able to use the funds. So if you would like me to Troon is already involved. Troon is involved because I sent the contract with Stantec to Troon before agreeing to it. So they're dealing with them now and making sure that we are covered as a district with the architectural contract. Okay, so that's happening right now. Now, the general contracting still has to go out for bid. We still have to do that. What we are told is we do not have to do the architectural work because it was in the RFP that we sent out already for more renovations and future work in the district. So in what I'm told, we're covered. I can get more information and send that to you in email. We're covered with the architect. We're not covered with general contracting. We have to bid out for general contracting. The difference is that the board decided only use them for Doyle Ryder at this time. Now we're saying we need more renovations. So if we go back out and put another architectural bid out, that's what you're telling me to do. We're going to do it. It's just going to take longer for us to get things moving. I'm fine with it.
Yes, I was speaking, also we're thinking about our project on the north side, Northwestern. And we need that firm to get over there and to do what they need to do. And Yeah, but then I guess you could start sending out another one. But since we got this one, I know that, what we was trying to do in our workshop, and that's why I think we did talk about him, since we do have this farm, we walked through, um, door rider, and a conversation did come up in our workshop. And I know that what we was talking about doing, and since we have them, we're not saying we're not gonna, my understanding, not just gonna use them, but while we got them, so we don't be delayed and give the kids the service that they need and getting what we needed done, if that makes sense. But I read what you said, yes, we are gonna be, because we need a couple more. I think we're gonna need what, 2 or 3 more, I don't know.
So we did bring 2 firms forward, and this is the reason why we have brought 2 firms forward. So we still have, I don't, I would have to check on a window, because if you want me to bring that firm back, that other firm back, I would have to check on the window of the RFP if that's still live, if we can still bring that forward, if that's the board's desire.
But if there's room for RFP for local, like she's talking about, is there's a RFP out there for them to go out there?
Are we talking about architect, or are we talking about general contractors to do the
What
work?
are you talking about, Karen?
Well, it would be my thought, since we have ESSER dollars and the sun is about to set on our ESSER dollars,
Yes.
that we utilize more than one architect so we can work on more than one project. Because we don't want the fact that they're trying to get the maximum most dollars they can get their hands on to hold up our business. So if we have one architecture firm already approved working at Duro Ryder, I would think it would behoove us to RFP, because it's the law. RFP for other
Yeah.
architecting contracts. Let them start at Northwestern, Brown, and other facilities that we know we want to renovate. And like you said, it's a holdup on supplies. So if you're working with one guy, he ordering supplies for one site at a time, that's a slowdown. We got 2 firms, we got 2 people ordering supplies, we got 2 buildings operating on now, we got ESSER dollars that the sun is finna set on. So we need to punch the gas, and we can't wait on one person and let them dictate our business, is my thought.
Since we haven't voted on this, is there some way to convene like an advisory committee so that we can work fast and hard to, so we don't have to take up, like, wait month after month for board actions and things? And I thought that trustee McIntosh was on some building committee,
Committees, yeah. But, all of that was gonna take place when we had all of this other stuff. And that's what we had talked about. But so now we just got to get caught up, and a lot of things we can't want to say, but we can't say right now, but a lot of things were said, and we have 24 months, I think 2.5 years, for the sun to go down. And like, trustee McIntosh is saying, we got to get as many hands on deck as possible. And right now, we got our hand on deck, we have somebody, so we're gonna start to working, but our babies need new clean school, teachers they want a nice lounge, the children need brand new furniture. I don't want our kids coming back to school August in the condition they left in the water crisis, and they came back to the same dirty, building. We owe this to our children, and we got to move really fast. We got the money, we're supporting the teachers, we're gonna listen to the community, we're gonna take what the community said, and we're gonna use these dollars up. We're gonna put together committees, we got construction committees coming up, putting everybody in place to start working and coming together, cause we got to get to moving on this stuff. We got to start doing a lot of things. And you only have 24 months with supply, people getting work. So what is the pleasure of the board? Pastor Gill?
Thank you, Madam President. I just threw you to Superintendent Jones. What I hear you saying, Superintendent Jones, that delay it's a possibility. It could be a critical mistake. That's what I hear.
Yes, but I do understand, Board Member McIntosh. I do understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, I don't disagree with her.
Right, but what I would like to do is I would like to check with Troon, okay? To just reaffirm the conversation of the RFP we already had out with architects, which we chose two, all right? So I would like to see if we can pull that back to choose the other architect because the RFP that we put out spoke about the Doyle Ryder renovations and also other renovations in the district. So I want to see if that's still live is what I'm saying. So that we're not going out to repeat to get the same people back to do what we've already done. That's what I'm saying. Because I want to respect what Ms. Carroll is saying about, hey, let's have another, right? And so I guess what I'm saying is, yes, I think that we are on a time crunch. I know that we are. As I spoke to Doyle Ryder and Potter today, it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it is a time crunch because of resources. And so let me check with Troon, just so we can double check. But I would, if there's going to be a meeting coming up or a finance meeting, maybe we can add this to it so that we can talk about it and get right to it. And then have a vote if possible. Okay. So I don't know. I think we table. I think we table. Okay.
But back to what you were, did the board, did the chair recognize me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See there, Pastor, yes, she did.
Oh, she did? Oh.
Yes.
So you said that you RFP for more than one firm. So, and I would be in agreement with you using that second firm because you said you used the appropriate process already with the caveat that other buildings were included. So that way you don't have to do double work and do what you've already done and don't beat the horse. I would be in agreement for you utilizing that work that you've already put in. As long as we're lining up with the rules, I don't care.
So instead of moving this forward, if I could walk in next week after we figure out, because I know we're gonna have another meeting, so that we're not delaying. If I can walk in next week, I'm not making a motion. That would be something you have to do. But if I can walk in next week, if we're able to have a meeting,
A human resource. I'm sorry,
Chris got the wrong one. He had his hand up for a while.
Thank you, Board President. So, speaking in general, I don't have a problem with one architectural firm doing this. I would like to know what the original request for proposal was, how it was worded. At the same time, though, by going with one firm, we might get a better, let me say, deal instead of this, what is it, 5.2%, I think it reads, 6.2. One firm might be willing to say, I can do it for less if I get everything. And at the same time, there might be some renovations that someone may not be able to know how to deal with maybe. So they'll just pass on that and go with some others. So the request for proposal could be all renovations, all buildings, or what would you bid on each building separately? And we might be able to find that we could get a better price if one firm does all of them, or if some firms who can only do some things bid on just, one or two schools. But I think the burden is on us as a board to determine what buildings we need to have renovated. And we have not really come up with what buildings are we gonna close, which ones are we gonna keep open, how will they be renovated, what will be the cost. I mean, last night I could be wrong, but I heard a promise to the east side that a school will be built over there.
What it would look like if a school was over there. You have to pay close attention. It never was a promise. We were just speaking to a community, and They was talking about no schools over there on that third ward. It was, never was a promise. We just saying, what would it look like? We could build, we looking at building new school, 1, 3, or 4 schools. So we looking into the future. So we're speaking scenarios when we out speaking. But as a board, we hadn't made any decision. We're just saying what it would look like. So don't use the word that was promised. We're just using scenario. If we can get these funding, we can get 4 new schools. Well, then we're looking at that scenario. This topic, we're doing a community forum. But as it relates to this item, what are we going to do? I like Mrs. McIntyre's, because we got to move forward. And we got to get back to the workshop. We got to move forward.
Board President. So understand that the work of the architect is not to be in the building doing the construction. Okay, so if you decide that we wanted to, as an administration, we wanted to do all of this work because we understood that there's going to be more work to do. So we wanted to be able to choose because we don't know, we haven't used these architects, right? But we did our best due diligence to choose. And so our first choice was Stantec, and the second choice, okay, I can't read, so we'll bring that information forward, but they have to general contract the work out. We have to get contractors to bid on the work. There's different contractors there might be one I'm just gonna throw this out as an example, DTM, maybe another contractor at Doyle Ryder. It may be another contractor at Southwestern, whatever, right? But the architect is supporting the architectural side of this and supporting that work. So again, I'm okay with tabling if that's the board's desire, and I can walk in information after we have the meeting. And I get with Troon on ensuring that the RFP process that we've already done is good enough for us to move forward with the 2 architect services.
You are a board member, so feel free to speak.
Only been here a month. Okay, our architect designed the building. You know, they don't really do the construction of the building.
So I understand that.
Okay, and I would like to know, I think I heard Troom. Is it Troom?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, and Syntex, are they local?
So Troon is our attorney.
Oh, attorney,
That is
okay.
helping us with the contracts to
Okay.
make sure that we're covered as a district.
Right.
They're currently doing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Troon also will support us with any bids over $1 million, RFPs over $1 million, like Ms. Carroll suggested and was saying. That's what they're helping us with the bigger RFPs. So they're attorney services.
Okay, great. And Santex, is that a local company?
Stantec is not local.
Stantec is not local?
No, Stantec Architectural Firm is
Okay.
not local.
Okay. Further?
Sedgwick was the second one. So the second one was local, which is Sedgwick.
Okay.
That's local. All right.
So I make a motion to table this, action item?
Support.
You got support?
Oh, second, I'll wait on somebody to do something. Second.
It's been moved and properly supported.
Okay.
For the tabling.
For tabling,
Yes, ma'am.
of action item 21.31.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am, okay. Do I need to do a roll call?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Gibbons and all. If I call your name, please say yes or no. Chris Demarone to table.
Yes.
Linda Booth,
Yes.
Laurie McIntyre,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, Ellen Gibbard,
Yes.
Daniel Green absent, myself, yes. Motion 6, 1 absent.
Point of information, or point of order. I was wondering if we could suspend this regular order of business. I see there are many people from the public that may wish to make some comments, to listen to them, and then continue the meeting right after public comment.
We're getting ready to get to that, shortly. We just need to finish this one. Did we do this already? Twenty-two point three, monthly tech report from Bartek, March 2022, on page 41. Do any board member have any question to anything on page 41? I've never seen that before. Okay. Do we want us to suspend the meeting? Because we don't have anything else. Do we want, you did ask a question. I had to finish what I was doing. Do we want to suspend the meeting for public speaking? Yes, Chris.
I would support, it don't make me no difference, whatever y'all say. Pastor Gilbert had this hand up.
Madam President, without objections, I see no problem with it.
Do I have to take a vote or? Could we all mindset?
Chris made the motion, Pastor Gilbert supported it.
If the board pleasure, could we take a?
Point of order, Madam President.
What is, you're saying that we move and we're gonna support it, do we need to take a vote? He wants to suspend.
Right.
Let's do by roll call vote. Chris Del Morone,
Yes.
Secretary Boo stepped out. Treasurer McIntyre,
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh,
Yes.
Trustee Gibbert,
Yes.
and Trustee Green is absent, and myself is a yes.
Come in.
Oh. Good afternoon, public. Thank you for waiting. The board will now hear comments from the public. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matters within the authority of the board and not address individuals by name. The presiding officer of the board should have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. Is there anyone here from the public who wish to address the board? And my first person would be Karen Christian from UTL.
Good evening, everyone. Karen Christian, President of the United Teachers of Flint. I reside here in Flint. My children go to Flint. I went to Flint. We're Flintstones. I'm coming tonight to talk about what's going to be coming up in the next part, 2511. I just want to give an affirmation, first of all, to Miss Murphy. Miss Murphy has worked tons of hours, extra hours, Saturday hours, because I came in on a Saturday hour with my team to work with her in regards to the carryover monies that we have been given to each building to spend. Each building has their own team that came together with the amount of money that they were given. They sat down, they talked out, they hashed it out, they argued, they laughed, they did whatever they needed to do what was best for our students in Flint. We want to make sure that Ms. Murphy, number one, thank you for giving up that time that you gave up to help us get through spending all of that money. But we want you to understand that the conversations that we had were tough conversations about what our students need and what our teachers need to be able to be successful in our classrooms. So we want to make sure that you know that before you get into the discussion on this, because we want you to know that we worked really hard And no teacher at any of the buildings wants to feel that they put in all that work for someone at the board level to go, I don't know why you did that. I wouldn't have done that, which we've heard several times at different board meetings. And some teachers have been so discouraged that they refuse to get on the teams this year to help out, to spend monies. So I just want you to really think hard when you go into this discussion about how you do your wording and how you discuss it, because you've got teachers who've been in this district, and I'm getting emotional, sorry, it's what I do. I have been in this district for 31 years, and it's very hard to listen to a board meeting and listen to people talking negatively about what we as a staff have chosen for our students in our building, and it to just be torn down at a board meeting. So I just want you to take that into consideration when you have this discussion, is that you're affecting people and how they do their job. And we have lost several teachers in this district because of the way things were talked about at a board meeting. So I just want you to take that into consideration when you move into discussing 25.11, and just realize that there were hundreds and hundreds of hours put into this to make these suggestions for our students and our teachers to become reality in our buildings. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. The next, great job. The next person is Jannard Lakes, Spirit of Victory.
Hello, board. My name is Pastor Jannard Lakes. I'm a local pastor in this city. My reason for being here today is for Wilkins Elementary School. I grew up on Detroit Street and Holbrook Street. I approached this board before through phone calls, also trying to get Wilkins Elementary School. A little background of myself: I've worked with Job Corps, GBRC. I've also worked with Carristown Ministry, Salvation Army, Teen Challenge, My Brother's Keeper, and mentorship programs. I'm a local barber. Some of our members that are here, one person in particular is Ray Tyler, who is also an entrepreneur that owns Prime 810. We also have young men that own their own lawn care system, lawn care service. We also have young men that have their own trucking company and construction. And so it was our heart to do something to be viable in the community. And so as we went past Wilkins the other day, I took a look in. I see that they tore down the door again. They also tore open a window. I see someone has moved their furniture into that building. And so from when I went into it over 5 years ago to where it's at today, it has really been torn down even more. Me and a few community people would like to get together. We think that we should put something together to try to help our young men. We have a mentorship program. We just met with a young man at our church, that we bring young men that do not have father figures or positive male role models. I also work with, as a licensed barber, the reason why we're trying to do something for the community is because I also work with Shelton T. Banks Funeral Home. A lot of these young men, which 56 last year, is how many funerals I've done. Also doing one this particular Friday of a young man that overdosed. And so it is me and some other community people that want to get together. We would like to take one of these buildings. We would like to rehab it. Being that I've worked with Job Corps, we thought about the cleanup. And so we thought that we would reach out to those that were on probation, those that have community service work, that we can clean up some of the stuff that's over there in that area. Also reaching out with Job Corps. They have the carpentry program, their paint and their bricklaying. And we wanted to utilize those students to do some of the work. We have private people who want to help finance and people that want to come a part of the community. And so we're here to find out what is the next step that we need to do to make sure that these places in our community that are already being vandalized, that we can step in as somebody that has the ability to network with different people, that we may save one of these buildings that is not being utilized, that we may put together some community activities to try to save our babies. Thank you.
If I mispronounce your name, I'm trying to read it. This is Allison Montgomery Littlejohn from Peers Parents Advocacy. Oh. She's gone? Oh, okay. Carrie Downs.
Good evening, Board. My name is Carrie Downs. I have the honor of serving as the Director of the Flint Community Education Initiative led by the Crim Fitness Foundation, located at 452 South Saginaw here in Flint. I'd like to share some Flint Community Education Initiative highlights with you. First, I'd like to say congratulations to the Flint Fire Robotics team at Southwestern. These Southwestern scholars have participated in training and working out of the Kettering University First Robotics Center. This last month, the Flint Fire team finished in second place at the regional competition. Congratulations to the team. We're thrilled to see their hard work and dedication rewarded. Special thanks to Community School Director Mohammed Abautawila for his work in ensuring that all students on the team have transportation so that they can attend the off-site practices at Kettering University. I'd also like to say congratulations to our students who won the Crim Sports basketball tournament. Crim Sports hosted the basketball playoffs in March. It was an exciting finale to a fun season. We're proud of all the players and their hard work. Special congratulations to the following teams: the boys and girls teams at Eisenhower, Freeman, DTM, Doyle Ryder, Potter, Brownell, and Nethercutt. To check out the full bracket breakdown, you can check out Crim Sports' Facebook page. Additionally, I'd like to highlight the Keeping Kids Active activities taking place at Nethercutt. Tanessa Blakely, Community School Director at Nethercutt, has partnered with Brianna Barnett and school staff at Nethercutt to make sure that kids have additional physical fitness opportunities. It continues to be a hit with the scholars at Nethercutt who engage in weekly sessions on Mondays and Tuesdays, and they do 3 40-minute classes to support 65 students there. Additionally, to provide students with additional academic support, the Flint CI team at Nethercutt partnered with Priceless Dreams, a local partner who meets with both 6th grade classrooms to improve literacy and math skills. The sensational 6th grade mentoring sessions are available to Miss Gibson's and Miss Brandon's classrooms. Students are working on new vocabulary words, definitions, and writing sentences. Both of those components they've mastered. These literacy and math lessons are intentional preparation for standardized testing this spring. Additionally, we'd like to honor the ALA scholars. Mott Community College Workforce Development hosted a presentation here on site at Accelerated Learning Academy. 32 scholars attended one of the 2-hour sessions, which included information and resources for both juniors and seniors. During the sessions, students learned about the various career offerings and the new skills that MCC Workforce Development teaches scholars. It was a great opportunity to showcase a path for scholars to take toward achieving their post-secondary objectives. Additionally, the Flint Jags are hyped for college and careers. At Southwestern, the Community School Director, Mohammed Abautawila, intentionally incorporated programs that support his scholars' express goals. This year, many scholars shared their desire to join the workforce. Mohammed brought in a partner to facilitate the HYPE program. HYPE stands for Helping Young People with Employment. They equip Southwestern scholars with the tools they need to earn jobs. The HYPE program's inaugural graduating class completed the program. You can check out the MLive coverage online if you Google Southwestern and HYPE. Thank you so much for letting me share these updates. Have a good evening.
Is there anyone in the public who would like to address the board? Is there anyone else who would like to address the board from the public? Seeing there's none, I want to thank each and every one of you. Then we go back to the meeting. I now turn the floor over to Vice President Kara McIntosh.
Thank
for
you,
academics.
Madam Chair. I would like to call the Academics Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Ms. Dunpray to present action items to the board.
It'll be myself, Ms. Murphy, presenting an action item for academics this evening.
Okay, thank you, Ms. I'm sorry, Ms. Murphy. It did say Ms. Murphy.
Speak up a little bit. Okay, thank you, Stephen. Good evening. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 25.9, acknowledgement of Education Foundation grants to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption.
So move.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing there is no discussion, as I call your name, we'll take a roll call vote, signify by saying yes or no to move to the full board. Chris Del Moroni,
Yes.
Ms. Booth,
Yes.
Sister Laura,
Yes.
Dr. Joyce,
Yes.
and Pastor Gilbert.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. The vote passes 6 yes and 1 absent. Seeing no further discussion, the motion,
Yeah.
on the side, I'm sorry, did I put it in this? Okay.
25.2.
Yeah, proceed, Miss, Miss, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to flip the page, I'm tripping over
That's
here,
okay.
I'm sorry.
It's
Okay,
a long
proceed,
line.
Miss Murphy, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
no problem. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 25.10, authorization to purchase approved items from section 35A grant to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption. Support.
So move.
It's been properly moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Seeing there is no further discussion, the motion to move action item 25.10, authorization to purchase approved items from section 35A grants to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. And as I call your name, please say A or nay to approve this motion. Pastor Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Del Moroni,
Yay.
Ms. Booth,
Yay.
Ms. McIntyre, Dr. Joyce,
Yay.
and myself is the A, and the motion passes 6A, 1 absent. Moving right along, Ms. Murphy, please continue.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 2511, authorization to purchase approved items from the amended consolidated applications to the regular board meeting on April 20th for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Pastor Gilbert?
Yes, I just had one question of Ms. Murphy. Is there, it says on page 49, I think, said all Flint Board of Education purchasing policies and guidelines will be followed when purchasing items. So is there any type of document or book or something that you have?
We follow the board's policy, so as you all discussed about Neola and your
Yeah.
regular board policies, we follow those, what's outlined in your policies.
Okay. Thank you, Ms.
Is there any further question? Mr. Del Moroni?
Just in regards to the dates on here, under the background, are those misprints, or what do we need to know about the dates?
So what happens with our federal consolidated application, they give us an initial allocation, what is almost like a good guess, right? And so we prepare those initial Title I budgets and we bring those forward before the board based on that initial allocation. And so even though we didn't bring that to the board until October because of the way that we talked previously about the budget cycle for the state, they still give us a July 1st obligation date, meaning that you can book back expenditures for these items all the way to July 1st, even though they didn't release the funds until after the state budget was approved. So those dates are correct the way they are outlined there. We did because our academic subcommittee is usually the 4th Monday of the month. We have to somewhat get ahead. So we took these items to the academic subcommittee in February. So these dates are correct as listed here.
Very good, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Ms. McIntyre?
I didn't have a question so much as a statement. I appreciate all the hard work that the teachers and the staff put into working on these applications, and it's really gratifying to hear that it was a robust and an exciting process that brought the district together. I'm really gratified to hear that. It sounds wonderful, and so I'm listening. I hear you, and I'm excited to move this forward and fully support.
All righty. Is there any other discussion from board members? Dr. McNeil, Ms. Booth?
Seeing there's no further discussion, as I call your name, let me see, action item 25.11, authorization to purchase approved items from the amended consolidation application to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. And as I call your name, please say aye or nay to approve this motion. Pastor Gilbert?
Aye.
Mr. Del Moroni?
Yay.
Ms. Booth?
A.
Ms. McIntyre?
A.
Dr. Joyce? And myself, motion passes 6 yes, 1 absent. Proceed. Thank you, Ms. Murphy.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
At this time, seeing there is no further business pertaining to the academics committee, I declare the committee meeting adjourned. I will now turn the floor back over to President McNeil for the remainder of the meeting's agenda.
Thank you very much. Do any board member have any comments? Pastor Gilbert?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to say thanks for all of my colleagues and all that we're trying to do, and that we can do this if we continue to work together and fight for the children, fight for their interests, and continue down the road to get there. Sometimes it's not always easy, but I'm inspired and I'm determined to fight for the children. That is my only motive, and I would like to say this with all sincerity in my heart and spirit, that we may not always agree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. We can disagree without being disagreeable. And we should be respectful to one another and be courteous and understanding, but that does not determine our vote. Our vote should be always on the behalf of this district and the children therein, their families, and of course, those whose livelihoods are at stake as well. So that's basically all I wanted to say, is to encourage us to keep on going, keep on fighting, and to stand strong together as one board. Thank you so kindly.
Yes, thank you. I have 3 items. One is, the first one is, I was at a city council meeting this week, and they allocated millions of dollars of their art money. They sent it over to the Genesee County Land Bank to work on tearing down homes and businesses, that are in disrepair. There's no mention of schools. Now, that money was initially going to be given to the land bank to tear down those structures based on the criteria they had set up in meetings with the public. The city council, though, thankfully said, hey, well, we still want to have some control of that money. So I think it might be good that we as a board, as individual board members, as individual public, go before council and say, hey, don't forget about the schools, because that contributes to blight. Washington being one, Central two. So there might be some money there that could be allocated to help what the district is trying to do. Number 2 is, I've heard of a tutorial program called, put out by Math and More Tutors. Is the district involved with them in any way? Is tutoring being available to students? I hear they're going to stop that program.
Yes, the district and the board approved a contract with Math and More Tutors for virtual and face-to-face tutoring. The week of spring break, and what happens is the scholars sign up, their parents sign them up for tutoring, and then the tutoring company invoices us. We have 2 companies that we work with. There were some questions that I had around the invoicing, some things that I wasn't comfortable with, so I scheduled a meeting with the vendor on the week of spring break to sort out those things, but told them to pause services until we could rectify the invoices. And so I had a final meeting to rectify that today with the vendor. I called parents last night when I got home after our community forum. I talked to parents tonight as well to communicate with them, that the service will continue, but I had to pause it because from an auditing standpoint, there were some things that I needed to make sure were correct and that vendor needed to correct in order for us continuing to do business with them. So that's that matter.
Is it fair to say it's continuing now or will continue, or?
Yes, my
where's it
meeting
at?
with them today was at 3:30 this afternoon, so it was a little late, so we haven't, but I told the vendor they could reinitiate all services, but we had to create some changes to implement to ensure that everything from an auditing perspective was done accurately.
Okay, because I heard some good feedback and.
Parents love it, and that's amazing, and we've been seeing the academic gains that our scholars have been making, and we're sharing that information with principals and also with classroom teachers. So anything that's positive that I get parents to show up to a meeting because we paused it, I'm 100% in to make sure we can continue that service, but I have to make sure our business is handled properly as well.
Sure.
So.
Oh, yeah, understood. And the third one, I don't believe we have a ski team at the high school level. But to initiate that, what would it take? I mean, I would think it would start maybe in the elementary schools and just to kind of develop that interest and see where it builds to.
Ski team.
Yeah.
Ski.
I'm sorry, snow ski. You know, maybe even including snowboarding.
We can talk to our athletic director and see the interest with our scholars. We're always looking to expand our sports.
Okay.
This district is not, this area is not ski friendly.
Speak for yourself. We have Mount Holly.
Oh, yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
We can talk.
Sure.
That's
Okay.
a good idea. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Karen McIntosh.
Dr. Joyce, what was I gonna say?
I don't know, but I need to make a while to think about it.
Okay, go ahead, let me think.
I want you guys to look at your East Village, each one of you had one of these in front of you. On page 13, forever 13, 9.6 million in federal funding coming to Flint area organization, Kildee announced. On page 13, 1.75 million to the Genesee County Land Bank Authority and the Bay County Land Bank Authority to demolish of 65 of the most hazardous vacant property based on community input and 3 vacant and abandoned former school buildings. So that's money that's coming in. It's on page 13 in your. Hey. So Chris, when is the next city council meeting?
It would be on the second, they always hold them on the second and fourth Monday of the month.
So maybe we as the board, are you saying that we need to come in and speak on that behalf?
Well,
you two guys, you got faith there, and y'all got faith too. But anyway, we'll look at that.
See Madam President.
Yes.
But anyway, that's a decision I have to make because I have that obligation. And I don't sit in meetings till 2 o'clock in the
Just come
morning.
in and say what you gotta say and split.
We'll be with you.
Yeah, so, based on that, I do want to say this here as well, since we commented. I've heard some of the public comments. Was in the process of the, sale of properties, turning that committee back over to, Vice President Laura McIntosh, because she has started working on the, sale of the school building.
Mayor Laura McIntosh.
Did I say?
Yeah.
I was looking at you, what did I say?
Laura McIntosh.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's gonna be a lot of that, Lord.
Yeah, okay. So what we have begun to work out, we know that people are interested in those abandoned buildings. Karen McIntosh has started that process, and we're gonna put that committee back together, get an appraisal of those buildings. We're gonna call her the negotiator, so we're gonna call her the negotiated property, selling our properties and things like that. And we also talking with Mr. Jones, what that process will look like for ESSA-FON, how people can start to put it in, some of their proposals, letting the board look at,
some of these communities, ideas that they have to help move the school forward. But I definitely would come to that meeting along with my vice president, have to come too. Because they're gonna be, when she get off of work, they'll still be in the meeting.
I'll be there, I'll come, I don't have no problem.
It's on a Tuesday, right? Second Tuesday? Laura McIntyre? Second.
So thanks everyone for, I know it's been a long meeting, but I think it was really productive. And I'm really appreciative of all of you and everyone who stuck it out in the audience as well. If we're on a roll of suggesting activities like ski team for the school, I'd like to throw in my hat for crew, because we've got this watershed initiative and we have the Flint River, we've got all these different organizations. So crew has become popular. And I know like cricket and rugby are also these niche things. I know they're colonialist sports, but they're things that have like popped up throughout the rest of the country. Let's see, rugby, cricket, soccer, soccer, crew, and Communities First, actually, they have this program called Culture Shock, and they actually did a Culture Shock program, and they took people to Mount Holly to introduce them to skiing, and it was actually really, really popular and successful. And so, I mean, I know you, Carol, you say that we don't have, I know we're not supposed to say names and all this stuff, but you know, you said we're not a ski place, but that Culture Shock showed that people were really, really into it. And another thing, just to reinforce the district, is these, God, I am not a sports person, I'm sorry. I think it's what the colleges, they're D3, is that what it's called? They are looking for soccer players, water polo, rugby, cricket, crew, those kind of, I don't want to say weird sports, because I played rugby myself. Scholarships and money is out there, and there's recruiters, and especially when you have so-called inner city students doing these activities, the colleges are just looking for full rides to get people to these D3 schools, and some excellent, amazing schools that aren't necessarily like strictly Ivy League, but because of their size and their location, but comparable. So, and I think this would generate excitement and enthusiasm. Oh yeah, chess.
Oh yeah.
Because of the Queen's Gambit and all that kind of stuff. Chess Club is been real popular in charter schools, and there was just one other thing. Please forgive me, I'm rambling because I'm tired. But all right. But there was a term called mathletes. So instead of athletes, you had mathletes, and it was really, kids kind of got into that. Like you could be an athlete, but with math, I guess. So just to throw that out there. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank our Latinx community, our Mexicana, for Mexicana. They were excellent at the forum. We were able to bring back a lot of information. So I just want to thank the community for giving us the opportunity to come where they were. And they also were very hospitable. They had food for us. And so just want to give a shout out to Miss Aurora and Mr. Asa, if you're listening, for your support in setting up that event. And thank you, Board President, for bringing that to our attention.
Do you want to speak? Yes.
Man, Michigan United had this event one time, and they had a taco truck. I ain't kidding, them the best tacos I've ever had. When you said that, that made me think back to the, boy, they was delicious. But okay, about Wilkerson School, that gentleman, he brought tears to my eyes.
Yes, he did, yeah.
Yes, because our community need that.
Yes.
Our Muslim community has had like
I have a Muslim friend that I work with. They have literally had like a dozen murders of young black men. They, we don't have anything. We used to offer like transition programs for young adults, our adult ed programs and stuff. And I understand we still maintain some of theirs, but they're not as robust and aggressive as they used to be because they used to really train people and get you jobs, and you can see an avenue for survival. We've got to get back to that because we lose in our community and a lot of our parents that fill our schools up with students. Okay, when we lose young black men, we lose young fathers. So we want to be considerate of that. So the Wilkins School young man, and I don't know him. That was the first time I ever saw him. And I know we can't take everybody at face value, but in my heart right now, going off the gift that I have, my discernment, he touched my heart. He brought me to tears, and I think it would behoove us to give people like that opportunities in our community because that is what can turn our community around. And it takes me back to the young man who I am familiar with. He is not my friend. I do know him. We casually speak. Who wanted Merle because he works diligently with little boys way down here, getting them to be conscious about maintaining their community. When it's the old lady that lives next door to you, you pick the trash up out her yard when you do your yard. He is really doing what it takes to grow up a strong community. So I want us to seriously consider the Merle and the Wilkins piece and anybody else who's going to do positive work because these buildings are vacant. We're not doing anything with them. And while they're on our books, they help add to our deficit. So we do want to offset and get those properties off of us. We have got to make some serious, strong, positive moves at turning around our financial forecast. And ski team, I got a friend that is a ski instructor that I work with out at Mount Holly. Bowling is also a great thing for us. I talked to Mr. Jones when I was the president about our students having a skating party. I would like to see them have one of those at the close of the school year at least. Yes, to keep our kids encouraged and start bringing some things. Yes, giving them something to look forward to and a golf, because Sister Laura brought up the scholarships. So many golf scholarships every year go unclaimed. And for minorities, they have specific, because my niece plays golf, so many scholarships for young black girls go unanswered in the game of golf. And golf is an awesome sport. A lot of business deals are decided and made on the golf course. Even if you're not a serious golfer, it is a serious business move to be involved in the game of golf. So those are some of the things I want us to consider as well as a debate team. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to chime in on Ms. McIntosh. When we was talking about those schools, we had already in previous, when we first got started, that we was gonna do some type of in-kind for a couple of them. We did put that on the records. We did agree to it as a board, previous.
And we did speak about a 9-hole golf course at Northwestern because they have a big field.
And then I want to let people know that Hollywood Golf came before the board doing a Zoom, and she went to the city. She has about 30 kids designing golf course now. She showed them how to be a caddy, how they can go to college. She is a professional golfer, and I would like for her to come forth. You should see the work they're doing. The kids are designing golf course in a scale model, and and what she does, the whole family comes out, so she gets the parents and stuff engaged, which makes them get engaged more with the kids. So they're golfing, the kids' grades go up. She did a good presentation before the city, and then she came through Zoom, but she didn't get a chance to do her presentation as well. And with the solar panel, there's a person that would like to come forward talking about kids and making their own solar lights and selling them. But I just want to, I'm gonna let you go, but I did want to know that, Ms. McIntosh, you the negotiator. We had already said you the negotiator, and he was speaking to you because we had already spoken about that way before, and we never got around to that we was going to
take care of our people first and make sure that, you know, because they don't have the big bucks. And she's gonna put the community together and find out what the process is. And I want to say ASAP, because the public knows that those buildings open. One man or one person can't catch a thief because they're cutting up out there. So we need to get that off the books. Carol, we can start that process, how you want to do it, and what we're gonna get done. I'm sorry.
I just forgot one thing too, and I don't want to spend too much time, but we did get an email about homelessness and school discipline yesterday, and so I wanted to lift that up because it was sent by Lily Kaplan from the Student Advocacy Center of Michigan, which is an amazing organization, and it's an open letter, not just to us, but to all school districts around Michigan. It includes the ARC, Michigan United, Disability Rights, Rising Voices, all of these amazing organizations. And so just to read it, and maybe we can come back and have a discussion about it, because a lot of the things they suggest we already do, but it gives us even more stuff. They don't mention restorative justice practices, but it's even more than restorative justice. And it's like, it's an amazing letter, and we could be seen as being proactive if we respond to this open letter, which has gone out to every school district in Michigan because of a recent report that was done. So we got it yesterday, so.
I don't see how we can afford not to respond with us having such a large homeless population of students in our district.
And not just homeless, but housing unstable, you know, people who are couch surfing or moving every year or twice or 3 times a year.
Squatting.
Yep, squatting. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Of all mindset, do you want to say anything? You're the quietest one on the board for now. Seeing no further business, I declare the board committee of the whole meeting adjourned. Have a good night. 10:11.
I guess you wondered where I've been.